What's happening, guys? Welcome back to Digital Artcast. It has been too long, probably longer than it should have been. I really need to try and get some of these episodes running a bit more regularly, but I have been busy, as everybody is these days, and trying to secure down someone for the next episode has been not difficult. Just trying to pick the right person, and moving forward, I had a really good idea for our next guest to come on and talk to us. So with Digital Artcast, especially with our last episode, we focused on a guy, that a lot of you guys know, modern day James Murphy, who is very new to the industry, only about a year, but obviously has made some big waves, including working for Brainstorm and other, kind of independent contractors. So I thought I would kind of continue that theme with, a friend of mine that I've known for about 2 years now. Or something, when you're kind of over a year, and we met through, I believe it was actually one of the matte paint groups. So yeah, today we have Mr. Ian Vicknair on today to talk to us. So hey Ian, what's up?
Hi, wow, really? 2 years? Whew.
Yeah, I think it's close to that at least. I mean, it's maybe not just quite, but yeah, definitely over a year at least. So
Man, time flies.
Yeah, it does. And I think I'm right in what I'm saying. I think it was through the matte paint group we met. Was that right?
I believe so. It was right after I did David Long's class.
Right.
Because Conrad Matte Paint had their special deal going on with CGMA for
Right.
David's class. And I think you were in the academy, and that's how we met. You commented on something I posted, and then we just kind of talked a little bit here and there. It's only recent that I knew about your podcast, and at work I just started kind of just listening to them while just doing compositing.
Yeah, of course. Well, and you have a kind of similar story to James, where you're pretty fresh face to the industry. You've only been in it really maybe a year, because
Almost a year. More like
a year. Yeah.
Professionally in the industry, working for studios, only it's a little over half a year.
Yeah, which is impressive also because your story is maybe similar to some but different from others, where you weren't always a matte painter. This is only a recent thing, but you don't spend your whole life building up to this kind of job. You used to be previously, before you worked in your first job, you were a waiter in a kind of diner.
Yeah, I worked in a number of restaurants. I had two main jobs. One, I was a sous chef of a restaurant for a while, but the biggest job that I liked in restaurants was being the expediter. And an expediter, the expo, they're the middle person between the chef and the cooks, the line cooks, and the waiters and waitresses. So my job was, like, when the tickets came up, I made sure that all the food that came out of the kitchen was up to par. It was up to standard, and it was being served to the right waitress for the right customer.
Yeah.
And it was a tough job because I was living in the middle of nowhere, literally nowhere, trying to figure out, like, how do I get in? How do I get into the industry with no experience and no college?
Yep.
So I kind of made a goal that it's all right, if I can't get in this way, I'm going to just save up as much as I can and then just move out to New York or LA and kind of do like what Max did, where he just took his phone book and just called every studio and do door-to-door sales and just go, hey, I'll work for free. And that was what I was trying to get to, but I got a little lucky.
Well, luck for me, as I always say to people, is preparedness meets opportunity. So, I mean, you were prepared, you had some portfolio pieces, and then obviously off you went to do some interviews.
Yeah.
And then I think you'd done several, and then obviously announced that you got in a FRAMESTORE. So, yeah.
Yeah, it was my last month working in the restaurant industry, I had worked. I did the math one time. It was close to like 550 hours in 1 month, which was about 15 hours a day,
Mhm.
and literally every single day, I didn't get a single day off in that entire month. And I had a little bit of a breakdown, going like, I don't want to be here. I'm stuck. I need to get out.
Yeah.
And so I went home and I talked to Conrad was one of them. You were one of them. I believe you were. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
my roommate was a huge part of it. He's my roommate. He's like the next Stephen King. I swear to God.
All right.
Um, but he just, and you all said the same thing. Like, well, if you can wake up tomorrow and do what you want to do, what would it be? And I said matte painting. And Conrad's Conrad's words were very specific. He was just like, just go do it then. Like,
Yeah.
just do it. So within 1 month, I quit the job. I moved out of my apartment and into my parents. And the deal was, well, if you're going to be here, you've got to be really working to get in. You've got to try and land a job, and you have by the time summer starts to move somewhere and get set up.
Yep.
And so that only gave me about like 6 months to really pound out portfolio work and get a reel ready, get a resume ready, website, my brand, and matte paintings that had good enough quality to get me in the door, even if it was just like being a janitor or I don't know, anything for a studio. I didn't care what it was. It had to be good enough to get anything.
Right.
Yeah.
And then that was you. You were in the door. I think it only took you, a couple of months basically to build the portfolio, which is obviously is impressive enough because people can spend so long, in classes and doing courses, and yeah, it can also just take people years. But yeah, you only
Well,
needed about 3 months or something.
uh, after I left the restaurant, it was about 4 or 5.
Yeah, still.
Yeah, but with it, it just I didn't have 6 years to get in. It wasn't like when talking to other people who have entered the industry, I've heard a lot of numbers being like between 3 to up to like 15 years to be able to enter the industry. And I was sitting at home and I was just going like, I don't have that kind of time. I don't want to end up within, by the time summer starts, to be back in a restaurant working those kind of hours and not being what I want to be doing. I
Of
don't
course.
have that kind of time. I don't want to be in my 40s just entering the industry. And I just didn't want to do that.
Yeah. No, I
So
can imagine.
I made it a goal to make, when I first started doing matte paintings, to do one a week. And then after the first month, it was two a week. And then the third month, it was three matte paintings a week.
Right.
And each one had to be 100 times better than the previous in every single way, every
Of
possible.
course. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then of course this whole opportunity that you got, for working at FrameStore, um, obviously, it was the dream come true. You got in the job. What was the focus once you got in there, and how much did that kind of live up to the expectations you had before you actually started the job?
The When going in, I wasn't expecting to really learn Nuke. I was expecting to kind of have like a short intro to it, but the first 3 weeks at Framestore were just hardcore Nuke. It was
Wow.
all day, every day for like 8, 9 hours, just learning Nuke and the foundations of it, and how it works and what it does.
Right.
And um, and thankfully, because I knew how to do plate cleanup really well, that's what gave me my foot in the door. Because when I interviewed the lead visual effects guy and the recruiter, they were going through my work and they were just very upfront, going, "We've never seen anyone with this good of plate cleanup at your age. We've never seen that happen before."
Mm.
Um, and that definitely gave me a hand up. And so when being at FRAMESTORE, after doing Nuke for 3 weeks, just getting it down, they gave me my first matte paint gig. And I told you about this in the middle of the summer. It was kind of funny. They were expecting me to take about nearly 2 weeks to do one frame um, of plate cleanup, and I got it done in 5 hours. And the visual effects supervisor was sitting right next to me working on a commercial. And after 5 hours, I just sit back and he looks at it and goes, "Holy hell, Ian." And so it's been a huge learning curve. There were a lot of things I wasn't expecting, especially being at FRAMESTORE. I connected with the matte painter there, and he really took the time to, all right, here's some things that you already know, but let me refine a few of those techniques for you.
Yeah, of course.
Which has greatly helped.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, of course, you worked on, I mean, I again, I don't know how much you can talk about because I have seen some stuff on your ArtStation, but you worked on, it was mostly commercials while you were there?
Yeah, the New York office for FRAMESTORE is all commercial based. They rarely pick up movie work. It's only like when it's like a month before the deadline, and if they're falling behind a little bit, they'll outsource it to the studio in New York or LA. So the US based offices are commercial, but then the ones overseas are more movie and films.
Right. And then you done how many while you were there, or how many did you work on the time you were there?
Uh, seven or eight commercials.
Okay. Yep. And that was the span of like what, 5 or 6 months, or not even that, maybe. You sound like 5 or 6 months you were at FRAMESTORE, right? I can't remember specifically.
I was there for 3.5 months.
Okay, so shorter than I thought, but still a lot of work for those 3 months you were there.
Yeah,
And then
it
these were obviously
was.
doing the shots for Duracell and that.
Yeah, and the one for Duracell, that one I got done in like 5 hours, and then they looked at it and they were like, "Well, there's other shots in this commercial that we could definitely use plate cleanup. Otherwise, we have to do it in Nuke, but you're really fast, so let's just give that to you." And that is something I think is like super important. If anyone's interning, like go in and do what you're assigned to do. But if there's one thing you're like so good at doing, really good at doing that, like I can just nail this 100%,
Yeah.
that's your time to shine. And
Yeah.
that's what this project was for me.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. I mean,
My time to
and
boom.
then it opened the door to, like you said, another idea of things you could do in the future, or people,
Yeah.
contacts you can make in the industry, and yeah, and I mean, it was obviously, it wasn't great at the time, when you were leaving, because you wanted to stay, you wanted to do more,
Yeah.
yeah, but then obviously you've found another job now. You're working out closer to where you were based originally, I think, right?
Yeah. I'm at a studio here in Minneapolis, interning. Um, and I'm just kind of going with the flow right now, just kind of seeing what happens.
Right.
This one is more 100% just new compositing. And
Okay.
so what was really good is like FRAMESTORE gave me a really good foundation of just like, here's what Nuke is. And now being at this studio, I'm able to fly through Nuke a lot easier. I mean, even though there's definitely things that I'm still having a little bit of a hard time figuring out, but I'm having a lot easier time trying to find those answers just because I know the foundation.
Right.
Um, and it's more just new compositing at this studio.
Right.
There's definitely been some matte painting work that I've done, which I'm very excited to be doing for them.
Okay, very cool.
It's definitely been a journey, and I'm
Yeah,
excited to see where it goes.
yeah. But again, you are still very fresh faced to the industry. I mean, it's almost unheard of people, walking into, I'd say walking into, you obviously work very hard for it, but, getting a job, so quickly, with,
Well,
yeah,
well, what definitely helped me land the the job at Framestore and getting my foot in the door was, I mean, it wasn't just making connections. That's definitely one part of it. But the other part was doing freelancing for map painting. So my reel that I sent them was it was like 90% client work as a freelance map painter, and then a few personal pieces here and there. And so it definitely did help to have client work in, even though it wasn't big name companies or big studios.
okay,
And I definitely had a big challenge ahead of me. I took like a day to figure out what the challenge was. So, like, can I talk about it?
yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah.
up to you,
Okay.
whatever you want to, yeah,
Okay. So here's the challenge that I had. Okay. First off, I never went to school for visual effects. I tried going to Noman, to the schools in California, ones in New York, a couple in France, and I got accepted to all of them, but I just couldn't afford it. So my challenge of trying to get into the studio was difficult because first off, I'm competing. My competition was great. I'm competing against the studio artist who's already in the studio full time, who's there with all the benefits. He's got the work. He's got the regular 40-hour job in the studio. The second competition was the freelancer who's already well established. That being like Max Berman, Nick Hyatt, Rocco. I'm going to butcher his last Geoffrey.
okay, yeah,
Uh, uh, Mike Hill, like already the established map painters and designers who are like next in line for getting work. The third was the middle freelancer, the one who's already like breaking into the industry, and they kind of get some of the scraps essentially,
yeah.
as bad as that sounds.
Oh, no.
There, and then the fourth level of competition I had was the students who are already graduating from like Noman, who have the skill and the degree and the courses for doing the job.
Right, yeah.
So my level of competition was huge, and I had to figure out, well, okay, how do I beat all of this? And it was not easy. I mean, it still is not, because there's a lot to learn, and you have to continue learning it. But yeah,
Yeah. No, I mean, and it's a good challenge to set yourself, because I think in general, I definitely saw, and I'm kind of suffering from the same thing where, I have slight things here and there I can work on.
Mhm.
I definitely never found that one job, straight after university that I could go into that was like a full time 9 to 5,
Mhm.
um, career. I think a lot of that obviously was involved because, I couldn't really pick my path, but you kind of knew from the start that you wanted to do map painting full time. So,
Yeah. Well, it helped having knowing what it was, because the if you have my art station up, it's on the first row, the fifth image in the what if. Like
okay,
that one was my first map painting I ever did, and the director hired me because he liked my illustrations, and he was very upfront of just like, hey, I'm taking an investment on you. You have no work history. You never went to school for this. I'm if you fail at this, the studio fails, and
yeah,
so like you really have to do this.
mm,
And so he told me it was map painting, and I went home and I googled it up, and it was just instant love.
yeah,
Um, and it really changed my viewpoint on how I look at films and movies and commercials.
okay,
And so that was a start for me. It was, even though it was a small studio, that was the start. And then getting into Max's class, getting into David's class, and while doing all of that, working in a restaurant and freelancing at the same time.
Yeah, so your plate was pretty full from the start,
Oh yeah,
work wise. Because I mean, I say, Framestore was your first big break, and
hmm
da da da. Da. But you were working before Framestore, like you said, with the What If stuff and other
yeah,
mats you had done. There was work coming in. It wasn't like you weren't doing anything before Framestore.
right. But the work that was coming in was really difficult to get because there were any freelancer would get it. It's that sometimes the project comes in, but you don't get it simply because of budget and time. And so projects do fall through. It definitely happens, and it's happened to me a bunch of times. And part of it is you have to convince your client of like, here's why you should use me and not maybe a student that's just graduating from college,
Right. Yeah.
or um, yeah. And so it definitely was a challenge because you really have to learn the business side of it. And that was something that definitely gave me an uphand.
Yeah. I can imagine. And then the thing is as well, I think as well the exposure you've had through like the matte paint group,
Yeah.
getting to go to SIGGRAPH, meeting with Conrad,
Yeah. Oh, that
getting
was
closer
surreal.
to the yeah. No, yeah, that would. I mean, SIGGRAPH itself would have been amazing because of the people you got to interact with. But yeah, I think just the the ability to interact with some of the artists on matte paint also was helping you out
Mhm.
just with
Yeah.
confidence and with skills and all that kind of stuff. So um,
Yeah. I was when I was just pumping out work, I posted in that group at least once a day of here's something new or here's something I'm working on.
yeah,
And I was very upfront of like, give me all your criticism. It could be, this is terrible, uh, redo it. And I would go and redo it.
yeah.
And I bugged the hell out of Conrad. I know I did. Because he would be at work and I would send him a map and going like, hey, here's something I'm working on. And, and he would just say like, hey, I'm busy now. Let me like get back to you in a little bit.
Yeah, of course.
And then there were a few times when he was like at his lunch breaks, he would get on Discord with me and just chat and go
Yeah,
over the work. And then the other part was another guy in the academy, Stefan. He, man, I want to say Denmark. He's from yeah, I want to say Denmark. And so I would be working at like 4 in the morning, working on a map painting, and he would be up and Conrad would be asleep, and I would just send that to Stefan, being like, "Hey, take a look at this."
yeah,
And there were some times when Stefan or Benjamin would be like, "Ian, go to bed, man. It's
yeah.
4 a.m. Go to bed."
Yeah, but at least you were. I mean, I think that's why Conrad had that level of. I'm going to say putting up with you, but not really. I mean, I know he enjoyed obviously helping you, but
Mhm.
I think the putting up with you was more because he could see your focus and drive, and he
Yeah.
wanted to reward that almost because you were so dedicated to your craft. And
Mhm.
because, like he says, there was sometimes people would try to get involved in. I mean, I'll use myself for an example. That I tried to do matte painting, but the work ethic wasn't there, and I wasn't really doing as much because I didn't really feel like I was enjoying it.
Mhm.
And yeah, 100%. That definitely. Conrad was saying, I want to help you, but I can't feedback on stuff I can't see.
Mhm.
And then of course,
Yeah.
I moved away from that eventually. But I knew with the stuff you were pumping out, Conrad was very keen to help you because you had
Yeah.
that level of dedication, that level of push, which
And
is
the
yeah,
And the other part that I think that really helped were two things. First off, like I trust him on a very personal level. That I know that if I'm working on something, or I can go and talk to him about like, hey, I'm having this kind of problem, and he's very genuine with it. He's someone that you can confide in. Um, and I mean, I've had some personal struggles with side things in life, and I've been able to talk to him about it,
Yeah.
and he's been great with it.
Yeah. That's good.
Um,
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like a mentor in a way, I think. Yeah.
yeah, a mentor, and then just becoming a friend, and there's been it's definitely been a journey. It's been amazing with how much he's helped me, and thankfully and hopefully I'll be able to help him back with the matte paint group.
Of course.
Um, and the other part, that the reason that I think he also went with like, yeah, I'll help you, was just I have a very good understanding of like how the business works.
Yep.
And it's something I think many people need to really realize. If you're entering this business, you need to know what the business is and how it works.
Of course.
You can't just blindly go in going, I do matte painting and I don't know how much to charge, or I don't know how much to do for hourly, weekly, daily, yearly. You need to go in with that kind of knowledge. Otherwise, you're going to get ripped off and screwed. 100%.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that a lot of people don't pay attention to as the business side of it. But then it depends though, because if you're doing stuff freelancing, of course, you need to have your freelance head on. But then also, if you're just want to go, I say just want to, but if you want it to be more studio based, then sure, you don't need to worry about that stuff as much. But then, of course, I think the part you would need to worry about is when you initially get in the door, is you have to say to yourself, well, I would only work for XYZ per hour, or would only want to do certain types of projects. So
Yeah,
in that sense, yeah.
yeah. You learn, well, with freelancing and any kind of business. You learn the negotiating skills,
Yeah.
and that's why, like when I was at SIGGRAPH, I ended up doing a bunch of portfolio reviews without knowing that that's what I was doing. There
Yeah.
was at SIGGRAPH, it was great. I was helping Conrad with a matte paint at a party, and they handed out bracelets, and they were portfolio review bracelets that you wore, and students could come up to you and show you. And
All right. Okay.
I didn't know what the bracelets were. I just thought like, oh, it's just something you're handing out. Cool. And I just had people coming up to me going like, hey, can I show you my portfolio? And I finally asked Connor, like, why the hell is this happening to me? And he goes, Ian, you're wearing a bracelet. It's like, oh, okay.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, I'm wearing the bracelet that says it. Duh.
Yeah. Oh
Um,
God.
but it definitely, knowing that business side helps tremendously. I think for anyone, because
Of course.
it allows you to know what a company is, what a company does, how a company works, the different hierarchy that's in a company. And that's why I like always strongly suggest to people, like if you're graduating from college, go work in a restaurant. Like as terrible as it is, I mean, you get ripped off in restaurants sometimes. It happens,
Yeah.
but
Yep.
you learn customer service. You learn how to work with people that you don't like. You learn how to be on a team to help serve the food for a customer. You learn how the front of the house works, how the back of the house works, and you learn all those different kinds of skills, and then taking that and applying it to your own art, I think definitely gives you an upper hand.
Of course. Yeah, definitely. And then again, I think it's just one of these things where if you work in that job for long enough, then you almost know like how, or you almost want to work harder because you don't want to go back to
Exactly. Yeah.
that kind of job. Yeah.
Yeah, because it was I've been so afraid of this, and I'll admit I'm still kind of am that, like, okay, if this internship ends and they don't hire me, or a company doesn't hire me, I don't want to go back and work in a restaurant for 80 hours a day, or sorry, 80 hours a week, and going, okay, how do I get the hell out of this yet again? And I'm back at square one. I don't want to be doing that. I want to be moving forward.
Of course.
And so it definitely, having a little bit of a scare like that really lights a fire under your butt, and it's definitely a motivator.
Yeah. But that, I mean, a good motivator, because at least then you're not
Yeah,
being kind of lax with it. And I mean, I know when we spoke to Conrad, even he was saying that, you know, back in the day when he first left his degree or his kind of school, he did spend a few years kind of goofing around because his parents obviously were helping him out, and
Yeah.
he didn't really have as much of a worry about that as others. So yeah, you can go the
Hmm.
two directions. One is where you leave and you're so determined you want to work that you're already working as you leave, or like me where you've been a bit more. Um, I mean, a combination of lazy and just indecisive, and then you're presented with not a lot of options, so you're just kind of you're grabbing for the first thing that comes along. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, it's definitely
You,
a good thing to want to have a drive.
yeah, you definitely need to drive it. This is an industry that everyone that's in it that I've met has a drive. And if you don't have it, or you're kind of going like, well, I don't know what I really want to do. I'm not sure what to do. You're going to fall behind, I think.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
especially when there's so much technology to learn, and
yeah.
there's so many different moving parts of the industry and different subgenres within one industry, and yeah, it's
That's why I like being very specific with the job. I mean, it's good to have generalists, but I think personally, I like having more of a focus just because you can be badass at it.
yeah,
And I like seeing those kind of artists that are really good at just being really good at one thing, but might branch out to others and kind of dabble a little bit, but still have
yeah.
that focus.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably one of the biggest conversation topics within industry is specialization versus generalization, and I
It
definitely think, yeah, yeah,
it really depends on the kind of work you want to do and the kind of company you want to work at. Definitely. So, like, if you're going to like MPC, they hire a ton of generalists. That's their go-to. If it's like Framestore or Mr. X or DNEG, they're a bit more, the artists in are a little bit more specialized depending on the location of that company. Commercial work, it's much more specialized people. Either you're just like a new compositor, you're a matte painter, you're a texture artist, you're a lighter, blah, blah,
yeah, of
blah.
course,
Whereas maybe something for a movie, it might be more of a generalist, but you do have your in-house and freelance specialists. So it really does vary, and it's knowing how to find that so you can target it for work. Yeah.
and no, I mean, in regards to map painting, especially with you having experience in Framestore as well, what do you feel like are areas you could specialize in mat, and is there one particular you think you would want to excel in, or is there several, or
There's a few. First, one of my biggest ones is I really want to get more into compositing. From uh, my experience and from what I've been seeing and learning, new compositing and matte painting are becoming hand in hand, especially if you're freelancing. Just because you project it and then you just send it and it's done. But even in a studio, it's like the shots for the Duracell and the Yellowwood. Like those were ones where I did the matte painting and then I worked on the projections of them and the full compositing of that shot. And so it's definitely a skill to learn. I definitely want to get more into Maya. Um, it helps with projections, which is good. Um, but I really like keeping my focus in matte painting. I really want to get more into new compositing. But the one area that I also put a lot of focus in is art direction. I really want to be an art director. It's one of my big goals in life.
okay.
And it's because I really like working in teams. I like bringing a team together with different kinds of skills and seeing what the outcome can be of that. I think that is so unique to have.
And is that inspired by the guys you've seen in studios or people you admire within industry, or
The Actually, no. The reason I didn't want to get into art directing is because of, I can't believe I'm saying this, is because of being an expo in a kitchen. Because you're that middle person between the artists and the clients and the producers, and so you're
Okay.
kind of bringing everything almost together.
Okay.
You're kind of the foundation that kind of puts everything together and works with everyone to create the final outcome.
Right.
And I think that's a really unique role.
Right.
Um,
So more like just a general team leader kind of aspect
yeah,
that you want to kind of pursue.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's an awesome thing to have as well because I think it's like a lot of the guys you can already admire where, they all probably have stepped into positions of leadership because of previous jobs or previous experience, but some people just like the idea of, bringing people together and making them do their best, getting the best out of them in their work. So,
Mhm.
yeah, it's definitely not a bad thing to have brought that from a previous experience.
Yeah. And I haven't met too many art directors, oddly enough. The like Patrick Clare at Elastic has he's phenomenal. The work that he produces with his team is astounding, and it's a really small team of like, I mean, I don't know, I've just thrown a number. It's like 12 people,
Right.
and the work they do is gorgeous.
Yeah.
Like he's a great example, or Ridley Scott. Um, they're phenomenal at what they do.
Of course. Yeah. Because of obviously the years I've spent, you know, honing their skills and experimenting with different mediums. Um, but then again, it's a thing where, do you even know what industry you'd want to move into? I'm thinking film or some kind of interaction with games or VFX or what's the end goal for you? Where do you think like your dream job would lie?
The I definitely love freelancing. Um, I've this is it's a new career that's kind of happening a little bit that I've seen very few people do and do well is being a freelance art director. I
Okay.
think that is really interesting because you can kind of pick up the projects you want to pick up on.
Yep.
And coming from a freelance point of view, I like having the hours that I want to like to work at.
Yep.
But for right now, my main goal is to just land in a studio full time and to work on movies. The I have a few big goals. Like the one movie that I have to do matte painting for is Judge Dredd. I grew up watching that movie. It's one of my favorites. If that movie comes out without my name on it, I'm gonna just be so disappointed. I'm gonna be
Yeah.
so
I'm assuming you were a fan of the Carl Urban version that came out
yeah.
in 2014 or something like that, 2015. A fun
That
fact
one,
through, yeah.
yeah, that one was really good, but I really liked the old one with Sylvester Stallone.
Oh
That
God,
one
no.
was funny, even though it was just you just looked at it and went like, "Oh dear Lord, this is
Yeah,
terrible." It was so
yeah,
good to watch because the imagery was at that time was beautiful.
yeah.
And there's so many matte paintings in that.
I could
There's
imagine. Yeah,
there's so many. Like the opening shot when the camera moves up and you see the Statue of Liberty on top of buildings, and it's got the fire that's a hologram. Like that is just so beautiful.
yeah,
And that movie was really interesting. Like the after Star Wars and Star Trek came out, like anything that was left over in the graveyard was
yeah.
used for that movie.
Oh
And
yeah, I
I
can
thought
imagine.
it was just kind of hilarious how some of these movies have done things like this.
But then a lot of people don't know. But I mean, I don't know if you know either. But you know that film was based on a comic book, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
the
But
mhm.
yeah, I was gonna say, do you know one of the guys who kind of co-created that? Well, actually, the sad part and the good part. The sad part is that one of the guys who actually co-created it long ago. He actually passed recently. But the other co-creator, John Wagner, who is Scottish, I actually met him at a couple of different Comic
Okay.
Cons because he's working with a group in Glasgow now doing his own comic through there. So yeah, it was a fellow Scotsman that actually helped create Judge Dredd. Believe it or not.
Gosh. I
Yeah,
love the way it looks. I love everything about it.
yeah, it was very well done. I think it's always been I mean, it's still going today, comic wise. But yeah, the films. I felt like the Carl Urban version. People say what they want about him playing Dredd, but I definitely felt like artistically or just feel wise, the latest Dredd film was more or closer to the
Mm.
original vision John and his partner had to the Sylvester Stallone stuff, which was a bit
Oh,
more, definitely more Hollywood than anything.
yeah, definitely. And it was a little bit more colorful,
Yeah,
and a little bit more bright, where the newer one was it was a little bit more saturated.
a darker tone. Yeah, well, I think the original one as well was good that it had some bright colors because the comic itself is very bright and saturation. So, but no, it was interesting to see the reboot, and I definitely was. A fan. I actually wanted an actor called Scott Adkins. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He's a kind of action star, martial art guy. I felt he would have been a better cast role for Dredd than Carl was. Although I did enjoy Carl's version as well. I did think he'd done very well.
Yeah. Mhm.
Carl's not a big menacing kind of dude. He's a bit on the. I think he's only about 5'10" or something. I think that they obviously portray him in a certain light to make him match up with everybody else around them. But yeah, I
Yeah.
did enjoy the reboot.
Yeah. I would love to see them do a Netflix TV show of Judge Dredd and his
Well,
adventure. I
that's
think.
supposed to have been rumored. That's supposed to have already been
Oh,
announced.
what? Really?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Oh,
They're supposed to be
anyone's
turning it into a
listening?
TV series,
Oh,
and Carl Urban was going to be doing Dread again, and he was going to be doing it in a TV structure, and
oh.
yeah,
If
that'd be
anyone's
interesting.
listening to this and you're working on the production of that, oh, you got to let me know. I beyond that, it is one of my life goals to really be doing that pains for that.
As far as I
Oh
know,
gosh.
Netflix were the people who were trying to get it greenlit. So I'm assuming they would be building it within their own internal studios. So yeah, get a job
Oh
at Netflix and you'll be sorted.
yeah. Oh, it's a great movie. It's a great film. It was well done. It was the ideation's there.
Yeah,
It kind of comes down to the actors and who's ever directing it on how they're
of
going.
course. Yeah, no.
But hopefully it's done well. With
Yeah.
what Netflix has been doing, they've been just so impressive.
Oh yeah, of course. I
They're
mean, it's just uh, yeah, an awesomeness
like
to
two
see
times
what they.
bigger than Disney now.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I think recently I was watching the Sabrina reboot that they done, which was sounds funny, but it was quite interesting. It's actually a really good series. And yeah, I know my parents are a fan of the House of Cards series, which has also been huge. Um, so yeah, I mean, definitely Netflix, and also all the Marvel licenses they have for all the shows I've done for them. So yeah, that was funny enough at THU. Netflix were actually doing portfolio reviews. They were hiring at THU, so
Oh my
um,
gosh.
yeah, amongst
Yeah.
other awesome companies. But yeah.
And you got to meet Dylan Cole.
Yeah,
I
got to
thought
meet
that
Dylan
was,
Cole.
yeah, I
Got to
thought that
record
was
a message for you.
yeah, I thought that was funny because before that you didn't know who he was. I introduced you to him, and then a month and a half later, he was this video of Dylan Cole going, "Hey man, you're keep working hard. You're doing
Yeah,
good."
basically. Yeah, I mean, like I went to his talk and it was one of the funniest things I think I'd ever bear witness to. And I'm making him sound bad. Dylan's obviously one of the hardest working guys in the industry, but
Oh yeah.
it was funny at the time because we were at THU. He was doing a demo and he showed us his work, and then he done a live demo where he basically painted a scene. And then he was kind of saying stuff like, "Oh, you guys know about the lasso tool, right?" And we're like, "Yeah, yeah, we know the lasso tool." And then he was because he was a Mac user predominantly. He was on the PC, so he was missing some of his shortcuts, and he was like, "Oh shit, man, how do you full screen it, and how do you do this?" And so it was funny because then at one point he did actually say it. He's like, "Oh, honestly, guys, like honestly, I know what I'm doing. Like it's not a common thing that happens. So honestly, it's not me." But we
Oh,
were
I
kind of laughing
totally
because
get that because like I'm on a Mac right now on my iMac,
Yeah.
And the interface on the iMac is that Apple has is great. I think it's so easy to use, and
Yep.
it just functions better. But then
Yeah.
when I'm at work and I'm on a PC, I'm like, ah, crap. What's a button for this?
Oh yeah, of
How do
course.
I do this?
Yeah.
And man, it's so I totally feel his pain. I totally get it.
Yeah. But
And then
you
like,
kind of have that stumbling block.
hmm?
You kind of have that stumble where you try to kind of
Yeah,
relearn how to use Photoshop.
yeah, exactly. Like, oh, what button was this?
Yeah, I know. So, but it was just hilarious because, like, we all knew like Dylan Cole. He was amazing, but yeah, it was funny just to see those instances where he was like, "Oh shit," and I forgot this shortcut. What is it again? And we were like screaming out shortcut keys, and I was, I kind of I was talking to my friends at the side. We were kind of sitting next to each other, and I said to her, who is this and what have they done with Dylan Cole? Like,
Oh my god.
because yeah, like it was just funny to think that he was kind of like unsure where certain menus and stuff were, and of course Dylan's work's incredible, but yeah, with that kind of the couple of minutes where he was a bit lost, it was a little funny because yeah, we've all been there, but I think we didn't expect Dylan to be the kind of same as us. We're like, oh, he's Dylan Coleman, like he's a master of what he does. Of course he's never going to forget something, or yeah, he's human like everybody else. And then of course he was walking through the main gallery at THU, and somebody pointed out that he was coming this way, and he was with his girlfriend, and I was running across, and I was kind of, oh, hey Dylan, like yeah, I really loved your talk, it was great, and I have a real big favour. My friend Ian's a bit down on himself just now because he's kind of lost his job at FRAMESTORE, and he's looking for new opportunities, and he's a bit sad. So, could you record a message for him, and just to say, keep it up? And he was like, yeah, man, of course. And then I think the first time I done it, I think we got like 30 seconds in. I was like, oh shit, I'm not recording. Fuck, hold on. Uh, and I had to like
Yes.
rejig my phone. And he's like, oh, it's cool, man, just go again. And then yeah, we got the thing recorded eventually, which I sent to you.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I
and
still have that in my files, and I open it up every once in a while, and
yeah,
I'm a little low.
yeah. Well, of course, Dylan actually has added you now on Facebook, hasn't he? And he talks about you.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I
yeah,
was not expecting that.
yeah,
He's added me, and he's given me a few comments on like, hey, put maybe a little bit more focus on your composition, or this one piece needs a little bit more work on the lighting, so give it a
yeah,
little bit more attention.
yeah. Of course, yeah.
And it was very unexpected, and I'm extremely grateful for it.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, it's fine, man. I mean, like it definitely was something that I had the opportunity to do, and I thought, why not? It'll cheer Ian up. So
yeah,
fuck it. Let's just do it.
it
So
was
yeah. Anyway, moving on from Netflix and Judge Dredd and Tales of Dylan Cole. I was going to just say to kind of round out. It's like a generalization question, but I mean,
mhm.
probably a good way to end is where do you feel, or what have you felt like you've learned since you started this kind of journey of doing matte painting? And is there any advice you would give to people who want to pursue the same path, either through working in film or TV commercials or matte painting? So yeah, so kind of what have you learned, and what would you pass on to others?
What would I? What have I learned? Oh man, I've learned a ton.
Maybe even since just starting at Framestore till now, like kind of where's your learning been? Where's it been focused? Where?
My learning right now has been really focused on just nuke and compositing. Um, the my biggest complaint recently, or yeah, most recently, is watch your edges.
Yeah,
Um, that really becomes very obvious, and I think it's something that is one of those small, minute details that will uh, uh, be a difference between a pro and someone who is just starting off. It's definitely a thing to look out for.
right, okay.
Um, but with learning with new compositing, it's definitely its own challenge. Let's see what else.
What about working at Framestore? Was there any kind of big lessons you took away from there, or?
There's a few. I have an article coming out soon about some things that you should do while you're interning.
Okay.
One of the best things that I did while interning, if you have a resume, send it to the recruiter that's there. Ask them to take a little bit of their time and just butcher your resume. And thankfully, this person did. And my resume was like originally like 2.5 pages, and she knocked it down to 1 page. And she was great about it. They're there to help you and utilize it as much as possible. While you're interning, ask questions. It's just ask questions. Go and watch other artists there, stand behind them, ask questions on what they're doing, how they're doing it, why they're doing it. And if they are way too busy, they'll tell you. They'll go like, hey, can't do it right now. Maybe at the end of the day or whatever.
Of course.
Yeah. And then let's see what else. What was the other half?
Just if there's anything else you would kind of maybe say to people who are like, I want to get into map painting, I don't know where to start.
If you don't know where to start with map painting, there's more resources coming out more and more every day. There's the Kitbash 3D. They're great for like knowing 3D and just taking the assets and just putting them into painting. I'm in the middle of doing 4 of them right now. There's mappaint.com with Conrad and the Academy through there. We put up a lot of mini tuts and tutorials on how to do plate cleanup, set extensions, projections, etc. The list goes on. There's Max Berman's class with Learn Squared. CGMA, those Nick Hyatt's classes coming out really soon. Hopefully I'll be in that. So there's
Dylan Cole, I think, also is putting something out, right?
I'm hoping. I asked him about it, and he said not for a while.
Okay.
Because he's right now on Avatar, and so his focus has been just nailing that. So maybe afterwards, I hope so.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But there's definitely a lot of resources. I think it's also very important to ask for honest feedback, not just, hey, I like it. I mean, you get a lot of that already. Just find a few people that you can respect their opinions. That there was a painting I did for Conrad once, and he just came back with like, Ian, dude, come on, man. Like, you can obviously do better. And I respected his opinion to go like, hey, you know what? You're right. Let me go back and make it better.
Yeah, of course.
So I definitely think it's very important to find a few people in your life that you can just really get their honest feedback and opinion.
Yeah.
And just have a lot of butt and chair time.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Cool. I mean, I'm satisfied. that's all I wanted to hear. So, but it's been awesome, man, getting on just just getting a perspective of the things you went through the last couple of months, changing jobs, having experience on commercials and doing different things. But, again, even, a year ago, talking about where you were then, you probably didn't think about, where you would be now and, how quickly it's all kind of changed for you and the opportunities that came along. So
my goal for 2018 was not even to be doing new compositing or it was to the goal was actually to move to either New York or LA and start freelancing and knock on every door, going door to door saying, hey, I'll do work for free or I'll do something at 75% of the cost.
Yeah.
And so it's definitely been going uphill since then. And hopefully it continues.
Yeah, man. Definitely. I mean, you've definitely got the work ethic and the mindset to make these things happen. And I've no doubt in the next couple of years I'm going to see you on Ashthorpe's podcast and other things, bigger opportunities, and teaching your own classes and stuff like that. So man,
you'll teach some classes. To be on Ash's podcast, I think that would be fun.
Yeah, I definitely think that's a goal for a lot of people is to be interviewed by Ash because Oh, he's Ash fucking Thorpe. Like, there's a reason the guy is the guy. He's probably one of the hardest working guys in the industry, and for good reason, because he has such a passion.
And I've also been wanting to do a talk sometime just with anyone, just like how on the business side of freelancing and of being a visual effects artist. I think it's something that would be very valuable information for students who are just getting out of college. Okay, how do I start? How do I present myself online in the right way to be looked at? So it would be fun to do a talk sometime and just kind of go over those things and have like someone's profile and just kind of go through the whole thing with it.
Yeah, kind of do it live and stuff like that. Yeah. That'd be. We could probably even try to do something like that on here at one point. Maybe get somebody from the YouTube audience who's maybe interested in the industry, and you could go over their stuff and give them feedback on different portions of their CV and stuff and their portfolio. Yeah, we could start doing that. That might be an interesting thing to do. It's definitely something I've thought about for a while, is doing kind of like live portfolio reviews. I know people already kind of do them, but yeah, we've never really done them here because you kind of need an expert. Because stuff I kind of repeat is second information I've heard from other people, so it'd be good to have an actual accredited artist on here talking about kind of pros and cons people have. So
yeah, definitely.
Would be interesting. Yeah, cool, man, cool. Okay, well, I kind of shorter one today, guys, but yeah, we just wanted to get Ian on and then talk about his journey so far. But he will definitely be back at one point. I'm hoping he can come back and speak to us more. And thanks to Ian for coming on, speaking to us, and taking the time to have a chat.
Thank you. It's an absolute honor, Gordon. Thank you.
Thanks, man. And I'll leave Ian's links below, some of his details. I'm sure if you guys want to get in contact, you can. And until then, we'll see you guys later. Thanks, guys.